Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 913 of the Juicebox Podcast. Erica Forsyth is back, and today she and I are going to speak about the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. I know you've never heard of it before, and you're like, sounds like counting, Scott, but there's a little more to it. While you're listening today, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. At the end of this, if you find yourself saying, I loved Erica, I want more, you could make an appointment with her at ericaforsyth.com. Erica serves a number of states right now, virtually, that's the word, right? California, Oregon, Utah, and Florida. And she's in California if you'd like to meet her in person. ericaforsyth.com. How would you like super comfy sheets, soft and luxurious? And how would you like to pay 35% less for them than other people pay? You can do that at cozyearth.com when you use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's right, the word JUICEBOX at checkout saves you 35%. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the company where my daughter gets her Dexcom and Omnipod supplies from. And you can get that and more from US Med. usmed.com/juicebox. That's how you get started. You go to the link or you call them at 888-721-1514. US Med, let me just give you a tease, right? US Med carries everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs from Freestyle and Dexcom. They also have Omnipod 5, Omnipod DASH, Control IQ, that's the tandem stuff. They have so much at usmed.com/juicebox. The podcast is also sponsored today by BetterHelp. Now, if you can't get to Erica, but you still want to visit a therapist, check out my link, betterhelp.com/juicebox. You can save 10% on your first month of therapy when you go to that link. Hi, Erica. Welcome back.
Hi. Thank you.
I have you here today because, well, let me tell you why. You've mentioned something to me before about coping grounding techniques for anxiety. I remember you saying it to me, and we glossed over it very briefly. And very recently, a famous person who I've been following my whole life had what they described as a breakdown, and that they went to get help, and that one of the things at the therapy that they sought out that was incredibly helpful is something called the 5-4-3-2-1 coping technique. Do you call it that? Do you have a name for it?
I call it grounding technique.
Okay. I want to I don't imagine I'm going to get to talk very much in this, but I'd like you to explain what it is, talk about the steps of it, and then maybe give me some examples of how to use it in real life.
Okay. So the grounding technique, you can utilize all 5 of your senses. Sometimes I also teach my clients just the 3-2-1 technique, which I will explain. So grounding, what that actually means is bringing your mind and body and your senses to the present moment. Do you want me to review what it is first, or why it might be helpful?
I think how do you get into that situation? Because what it makes me feel like is that you become a little disconnected from reality. Like maybe you get lost in a feeling or a thought or a problem, right? Yes. And it's almost like in my head, it feels like the visually, like if you've ever seen in a movie, somebody getting sucked out of a dream, like they're having a dream and then all of a sudden they suck them back to where they are. It's almost like, to me, it's that feeling of I'm away in this dream in this other place and I can't get back to me.
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So I would encourage someone to use this technique when they are feeling like, people describe it as they're spiraling. right? Their mind, their thoughts are racing. They feel like they can't control the experience they're having, whether it's physiologically, like your heart is racing, you're maybe even feeling like you're spinning a little bit, and your thoughts are just, you're perseverating on something. Usually it's about anticipatory fear, something you're worried about in the future, but it can also be something that's happening currently, or it could be something that happened in the past, and you feel like you cannot get yourself out of that moment and out of the feeling, and it feels really scary and overwhelming. That often can also, this experience can be connected to having a panic attack, where it's very scary. I know people describe it as feeling like they might, it's as if they were dying, right? That their heart is racing, they can't catch their breath. The grounding technique can be difficult to utilize once you're experiencing a full panic attack. So this would be something, but it can be done, but it's really, really challenging. So this is kind of when you're in this space of you know that your mind is just going, and your heart is racing, and you feel like you can't make it stop.
Okay.
So what you want to do, so the grounding technique, again, you can call it with your all 5 senses or 3, is bringing yourself to the present moment. And sometimes even before using the grounding technique, it's helpful to kind of check in with your breathing. So 2 different ways to do that. One is just placing your hand on your heart, and you're just kind of getting in touch with your body, and you might feel your heart racing. You might feel it slowing down. You're just kind of letting your body know that you're here, like you are with your body. Because sometimes people describe when they're feeling panicky is it's the out of body experience. So you're connecting your hand to your heart and connecting with your body. Another way, and this kind of goes with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, is holding up one hand, and you're tracing one finger on the other hand up and down your fingers. This might be hard to do without seeing it.
I used to do this when I was a kid. I start at my wrist and go around my thumb and then around my pointer finger, and then just keep going around the edge of your hand like that.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, and then you're inhaling as your pointer finger's going up one finger, your thumb, and then you're exhaling, going down. I encourage people to try these breathing, and you kind of go through up and down each finger, inhaling as slow as you can, and then exhaling as your pointer finger goes up and down each digit, to just kind of slow your mind and body down before you do the grounding exercise. There's really no right or wrong way to do it, but sometimes people tell me, and I know it can be really challenging to be in this headspace of panic and then say, I'm going to do my grounding technique. It's hard to jump into that. So the breathing exercises kind of help slow everything down.
Okay.
So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The first one is you're looking in your room wherever you are. You could be at the grocery store and having this experience. You could be driving in your car. You could be at your office. You could be at your child's school, wherever you are. You're looking around in your physical space and identifying 5 things that you can see. Mm-hmm. Now, what this experience does is it forces you to stop thinking about whatever you're thinking, because you're then having to look and identify, okay, I see this book, I see the lamp, I see the desk. And you kind of want to, it takes time, but you kind of want to do it as slow as possible. You don't want to be like, okay, I see boom, 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 next. But again, so kind of look around and taking in, okay, I see 5 things. The next one, and oftentimes it gets confusing of like, which sense do I do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? It doesn't really matter.
Erica, can I ask a question?
Yes. Yeah.
I want to get back to what you said. It doesn't really matter what senses, but in the idea of like 5 things that I see around me, it's not like I see 5 pieces of paper and I'm done. But do I say it out loud? I see a pack of paper. I see a camera. Like, am I saying it out loud, or am I saying it in my head, or does that not matter?
I think it probably depends on your comfort level. If you're alone, it could be helpful to probably say it out loud and then define it. Like, okay, I see the tissue box and it's rectangle and there's orange and yellow and blue print on it. You could say it out loud. If you're in a public place and you prefer not to, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, try, as I said, going down around the objects slowly, identifying them if you can, describing them out loud or in your head, right? So you're just slow, you're bringing your mind and body and now first your vision to what's in front of you.
Okay.
The next one is 4 things you can touch. And that's not just like, again, I see my smooth laptop, you're going to feel it and you're going to think to yourself, okay, this is kind of rough. I can feel my fingertips going back and forth over it. And then the next thing, okay, oh, this is really smooth. The mouse pad is smooth and it's pink and purple, whatever.
Right.
The next one, 3 things you can hear. This is quieting. You're using all of your senses to quiet your mind and quiet your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're listening, and this may take some time. It could be you hear your heartbeat. It could be.
I can hear myself breathing. I can hear. You can hear silence even if you get quiet enough, like that. You can hear the room, which is silence. I don't know if that makes sense to people. I wear a lot of headphones, so I think of it that way. But I can hear nothing, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Right.
Stillness. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
I like that.
5 things that I see. I see my microphone. It's on a stand. It's got a long cable on it. Like, take a minute to describe it. Mm-hmm. If I were to decide to touch that microphone, it's metal on one side and cold and smooth on the other side. There's a foam cover. The foam cover is rough and it's porous. And to actually touching it while I'm thinking it, 3 things that I can hear is an idea of how to get quiet and then really listen. So you're just calming yourself down, really, right? You're grounding yourself. I mean, I know that's what we're talking about, but it's really fascinating. Before we get to the next thing, where does this come from? Like, where did this idea originate? US Med, my friends. That's what we're here to talk about. The #1 distributor for Freestyle Libre systems. The #1 specialty distributor for Omnipod DASH. #1 fastest growing tandem distributor. The #1 rated distributor in Dexcom customer satisfaction surveys. What did I just say? #1? Woo! You heard me. Over 1 million diabetes customers have been served by US Med since 1996. It's where my daughter gets her supplies. They offer you better service and better care. How do they do that? By always giving you 90 days worth of supplies and fast and free shipping. Zip. You understand? Quick, like. Carry everything from insulin pumps, diabetes testing supplies, to like that Freestyle Libre 3 and the Dexcom G6 and 7. G7? That sounds like new stuff. Yeah. US Med has it. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, how can you go wrong? They accept Medicare nationwide and a broad swath, like a ton, like 800 private insurers. One of them must be yours. usmed.com/juicebox. Hit the link, sign up, get it going. Don't like the internet? You can call them 888-721-1514. I had a lot of energy for that, didn't I? Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling good about that. Hey guys, just jumping in to remind you that one of our sponsors, BetterHelp, is offering 10% off your first month of therapy when you use my link, betterhelp.com/juicebox. That's betterhelp.com/juicebox. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service. It is 100% online, boasts over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists, and you can talk to them however you want. Text, chat, phone, or on video. You can actually message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. BetterHelp.com/juicebox. Save 10% on your first month. Where did this idea originate? Do you know?
Of grounding technique? I mean, I imagine it's connected to, an Eastern philosophy of, mindfulness, being present in the moment. I couldn't tell you exactly who created it or where it originated, but I imagine it's, getting to that place of the practicing the art of mindfulness, stillness, being present with your body. Have you discovered who created it?
It says here, the National Institute of Health says was first developed by Lowen, one name, the Madonna of psychotherapists. Apparently, you only get one name. 1958, between 1958 and 1979, Lowen was one of the first body psychotherapists. Okay.
Well, okay. Well, thank you. It's good we give Lowen credit.
Him or her?
Yes. Thank you.
I'm usually the one that just calls the doctors men. Finally. Finally, I'm winning. Okay. Okay. So number two.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So then two things you can smell. And again, taking your time, and it could be your own, something that's in the air, your body, your perfume, your, whatever is feeling. You might even have candles, or if you don't have anything that you can smell, you could light a candle. If you have the oils, something.
Even just your shirt, right? You probably smell your own hair, like anything.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything. And then one thing you can taste, this is tricky, and this is why I'll go over the 3, 2, 1. Sometimes people get caught up in like, well, what if I don't have like a strawberry in front of me? But it could be also just tasting and being mindful of what is the flavor in your mouth. It could be leftover breakfast flavor. It could be your coffee, that you've had. It doesn't have to be something that you are actually tasting in the moment, but just kind of going back to being mindful, like, what did I have this morning? It might be your toothpaste, right? Or your mouthwash that you're tasting in your mouth.
I don't need to lick my desk when I get to number 1.
Yeah,
I taste
that's
dust.
correct.
Right. And by the way, how proud is everyone of me that I didn't say that you could smell what The Rock is cooking because that did pop into my head. I've never watched wrestling in my life, and it still came to me.
Gosh.
So the taste thing, am I actually looking? But my first thought is to put something in my mouth and taste it.
If you happen to have something, or maybe you have your coffee or your tea, or you have food in front of you or a snack, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It can be something like there's a residual taste in your mouth typically. How
long do you think the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 process takes a person if they go through it mindfully? Is there not a distance of time?
That's a tough. Yeah, I think it can be. It probably depends on as you practice it. It'll probably take longer over time. I mean, you could probably do it in as quick as like a minute or 2, but I don't know if that might not be as effective. So maybe if you could stretch it out even over 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I think would be a challenge, but could be done.
Okay. Should I be seated, standing? Does it matter? Do you think?
These are good questions. I think a lot of times people associate grounding with, going outside barefoot and grounding your feet on the grass, on the ground, and really connecting your body to the earth. You can do that in that process, but I also really want to encourage people that you don't have to be in a special position or environment or place to practice this.
Okay.
So whatever makes you feel most comfortable and focused on the exercise. But if it just means you're sitting in your car at the stoplight, you can do it quickly, right? And oftentimes clients will get it's confusing to think, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What sense am I supposed to touch 5 things? Am I supposed to see 3 things? And so sometimes it just to remember 3, 2, 1, which is if you're at a stoplight and you only have a minute, 3 things that you can see, 2 things that you can touch, and 1 thing that you can hear.
Okay.
That eliminates the smell and the taste, but sometimes that isn't as easy to do. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't find, maybe in the literature, it is important to do it in that order, but I think really the emphasis is grounding yourself to the present moment and interrupting the thought cycle, and then calming your body, physiologically as well through the process.
So the first time I heard anything about this was from you, when I was explaining leaving my son for the first time in Atlanta, and that it occurred to me that I should call my brother and talk to somebody. And you said, that you were grounding yourself. And I was like, I didn't know I was doing that. But it does make sense. Like, and then it's distracting. The conversation is distracting. And even though, like, we talked about what was happening, even saying it out loud makes you realize, like, it's not as bad as I thought it was when it started to happen. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Like, almost talking it out loud is helpful.
Yes. And I think you were also doing that while you were driving. So you had to be,
That's all I had.
you
Yeah.
had to be kind of mindful in the moment as well of driving, you were in the present moment. And grounding yourself can look like, yes, you were talking to him and talking through what happened, and then also thinking about what was next.
Yeah.
Um,
I have to say, I also find the work of a guy named John Sarno around back pain to be really valuable. And one of the things that I've always taken away from his books that I read years ago, the idea of that you can tell yourself, like, I'm not injured. Like, yeah, my back hurts, but I'm not injured. I don't have a physical injury. I didn't fall. I wasn't hit by a car. Like, something's not structurally wrong with me. Yes, I'm feeling pain right now, but I'm not hurt. I'm okay. My back's okay. Like, I used to tell myself that, and it was actually incredibly valuable. So, I mean, to the point where I would say that the stress could kind of exacerbate the pain. Like, so you have the pain, and then you get stiff, and then you start worrying, like, am I going to be able to get up for work tomorrow? And like, you sort of spiral, I guess. It's the same thing we're talking about. And then I would just tell myself, and I would say it out loud if I had the opportunity to, I'm not hurt. My back is not injured. This is okay. And it would actually help. So,
yes. I mean, that's really effective, with people with chronic pain, right? There's the pain that you experience, and then there's the thought process that goes alongside it that can contribute to even more pain emotionally, or sometimes even physically. And that's a great exercise of there is the pain. You're not like ignoring it, diminishing it, but the thought process as a result of that, you're separating the two. You're not connecting them.
is there a world where I would ground prophylactically? I'm sorry. Is that a word people know? I'm sorry. Just for context, it means like something I would do ahead of time so that the thing never happens. Like, can I ground myself before I become like upset?
So like a pre-meditation, right? To do something.
That's what I'm wondering. Are we just talking about meditating at that point then?
To front load. I mean, I think anything you do that you practice, even when it's not in the crisis moment, it's going to be easier to implement in that crisis moment or in those stages of panic. So if your mind and body is accustomed to grounding yourself, which could look like meditation, which could look like various, different practices, if you know how to do that instinctively, it'll just be easier to do in, post right in the moment when you feel like you really need it.
Yeah.
Is that beneficial? Yeah, absolutely.
I guess anything that works for you is beneficial, but like, it just occurred to me, like, I wonder if it like is becoming disconnected a thing that happens like at the snap of a finger, or is it something that maybe happens throughout the day and you don't recognize it until, you've slipped over the slope at that point?
That's a great question. I think part of the initial process that when you're is having that awareness that you are cycling or spiraling or perseverating, and you're experiencing the anxious symptoms, because oftentimes you might not even realize you're doing it until you are at that place of having the panic attack or feeling like you cannot function, whether it's momentarily or seasonally. And so one of the first steps, is to increase that self-awareness of like, oh, I'm doing that thing where I keep saying I'm using what if, worst case scenario thinking. This is kind of going back to some of the cognitive distortions or the lies or the worst case scenario thinking. Becoming aware that you're doing that is really the first step. And then being kind to yourself in that moment.
Okay.
To say, oh gosh, I'm doing that thing again. Gosh, this is because I'm feeling really nervous about this upcoming event.
Right.
I'm feeling really nervous about letting my child go to school. Okay. I'm good. So you're being kind of kind to yourself, being aware and being kind to yourself helps kind of lead you to the next step of whether it's the deep breathing exercises or the grounding technique.
And do you, like, from your perspective, obviously this is something I should be asking you. This is something you use with people who see you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We talk about this all the time.
Do people report back with success normally?
Yes. And I think it can be successful, but the common issue is that it does take practice, right? So it's hard to go from the state of panic to, oh yeah, that's right, I'm feeling panicky, I'm going to go do my grounding technique. It's really hard, right? And so it does take that practice, and that's why we break it down into what are the thoughts that you're thinking, what are there different distortions that you're believing, being kind to yourself in that moment, replacing those with truths, all the while integrating the coping skills. So it's hard to go from the A to Z without some of the steps in between. And then it takes practice.
I'm looking around online while you're talking, and because it just keeps striking me that, like, anybody who knows about, like, electrical work, right? You have to ground a socket. You have to, like, and you ground it into the earth, so that if there's I'm not an electrician, but so if there's a surge, instead of zapping you or the house, it literally goes down. There's a metal spike somewhere outside of your house. It's driven in the ground, and your whole electrical system is attached to it, so that, you know, it can ground. We're not talking about anything different, really, when you tell people to go outside, walk barefoot, lie on the ground. I even see here, submerge yourself in water. And then there's equipment to ground yourself with, which I would have no idea about. But my son brought this up to me, like, last year. He's like, you know, you can get like a mat to sleep on that literally is grounded to outdoors. And I was like, why would that be? And I can't wrap my head around it, but maybe there's something to it, you know?
That is such a great analogy. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. That is good.
I like it when you thank me. It makes me feel it makes me feel evolved. Like oh, it makes me feel like, oh, Erica thought to thank me. I must have been really thoughtful just then.
Well, it was good. That was a good description.
Oh, I appreciate it. It also makes me feel like you're way healthier than I am when you do that. I'm always like, she's either so good at this or just way more together than I am. By the way, I want people to know when they hear this first run, this is coming out during, I think it's National Mental Health Awareness Month in May.
It is. It is.
I cannot take credit for doing this on purpose. That is not why this happened. So I saw something in my social media a few weeks ago. And I mean, for clarity, I mean, he's very public about it. I guess I'd be happy to say it. The movie director, Kevin Smith, had a mental health crisis, and he put out a 30-minute video talking about what he did for himself. And I watched it, and he was talking about this grounding technique, which made me think, oh, wow, Erica brought this up to me. And I thought, wouldn't that be nice to walk through it to share it with other people? So it's how we got here.
Yes. I think one of the beautiful things about it is that it can be done without anybody knowing. Like a lot of students that I work with, maybe you have test taking anxiety, or and even caregivers as well. You can do it without anybody knowing. It doesn't have to be this big, exercise that is embarrassing or causes a lot of public or personal distress in public. And so you can do it and no one even knows you're doing it. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing.
Kind of like opening up your phone to look at your CGM. Like,
that's right.
Right. Just, I'm doing a thing. No one knows but me. And that, that is really wonderful. So practicing it. So not indifferent, not unlike almost anything else in life. Like, don't just reach for this information in the moment where you're actually having a panic attack, for example. Like, do it today, do it now, just practice. So you know the steps, and maybe you can even, like, cause I'm doing it while you're talking, and you can feel like that. I guess centering's the way to go, or balance, or calm. Even, like, it made me realize that because I sit in like 1,000 different positions while we're talking. Like, I lay back, like my microphone moves around real easily. Like, sometimes I'll sit back, I'll sit up, I'll sit forward. But I found myself sitting up straight and planting my feet on the ground. And I'll tell you, I never considered it before, but there's an alleviation of something when my body knows I'm in a stable position. And I've done it like 4 times while you were talking. It's happened every time. I can't explain exactly what it is, but I feel stable in this position with my feet planted firmly. It's very interesting.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me that, yes, it could be helpful if you are seated, to have your feet on the ground, kind of everything at right angles if you can, right? Your knees, and then your hips, your shoulders above your hips. Because you're kind of in alignment, and that can help you focus if your body's in that posture. Mm-hmm. It can also, you're bringing mindfulness to your body through the guided, the grounding technique.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, but that is another helpful tip.
Well, and Erica, as a person who slept through high school, I feel weird saying this out loud, but I feel like what I'm experiencing, I'm just trying to tell you I didn't do well in science, but I feel like what I'm experiencing is my body is not making a bunch of micro adjustments to keep me balanced. And so it's almost like my body's able to relax because I'm in this position. Like it feels like the chair has me. The chair's under me, it has me, it's behind me. My weight is there, and even when I think to shift, I can't because my feet are firm. But if you stand up, I don't know if we think about this a lot, but you are constantly, like, have you ever watched like a robot try to balance, like when they're teaching robots to walk, and you can listen.
I haven't.
Okay, so you can hear.
I will.
You can hear the servos in the legs and the articulations where it's constantly like it's constantly balancing itself, like forever balancing itself. And I just realized that when I sit up and I put my feet on the floor like this, my body doesn't feel like it's working to hold me up, and it's relaxing. So anyway, I mean, grounded because my feet are on the ground, but I think more like it's like an alleviation of like processes that you don't know are happening constantly. It's like one less thing your body's doing. It's kind of how it feels. But again, I slept right through psychology as a senior, so I did ace that final, but I did not listen. Have I ever told you that story?
No, congratulations.
No, thank you. My senior year, we had a half-year psychology class, and it came right after lunch. I was always very sleepy during this class, so I would sleep through the class every time. The guy was boring, and it's not that I didn't like the topic. I thought the topic was great, but he just didn't deliver it well. Anyway, halfway through the year, it's time to take the final because it's only a half-year class. We come in, he hands out the final. I fall asleep. Like I looked at the final. I was like, I put my head down. I went to sleep. My friend woke me up, and he goes, I remember his words. He looked at me incredulously and said, "Don't you think you should at least take the final?" I thought, that's a valid point. And I sat up and slapped myself in the face a little bit and took the test. The next day we came in for the last day of class. This dejected man at the front of the classroom holding the finals graded in his hands. He was so he was distraught. And later I realized he was distraught because I think he thought his existence was a waste of time and unnecessary because I got the best grade on the final.
Oh my gosh.
And he was so pissed. And he goes, "How is this possible?" And I said, "I probably learned while I'm sleeping."
That's right.
And anyway, I found it. I love psychology. I just didn't like it the way he spoke about it. But I'm fascinated by it otherwise. I appreciate you doing this. Is there anything we're leaving out or any?
Yes. I think I was just thinking back when you asked, how do clients report? Is this effective? One thing that can be challenging is it's easier if you're hearing someone tell you to lead you through the steps. I mean, obviously it could be done independently. Mm-hmm. And so if you're finding when you're wanting to try this or practice this, either writing it down on a sticky note, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with the different senses. You could also record. I mean, I know there are probably, on various apps, or even you could Google YouTube, someone walking you through this. You could record yourself, which can be really powerful. Walking yourself through the steps. So if you're finding that it's either challenging or it doesn't feel as effective, if you're working through the steps internally by yourself. If you need to hear someone walk you through that, that's just another, I just wanted to suggest that as another tip.
Yeah. I don't know firsthand, but I would also bring up too that I've heard so many people talk favorably about transcendental meditation. And TM is, I think they offer like a tiered system to pay for, like, to learn how to do it. And I think it's pretty reasonable if that's ever something that, that you were interested in. I think they charge you by your household income. So, if you want to learn how to do TM, or find another form of meditation, that it just seems like such a good idea, honestly. Like, just the idea of sitting quietly in general.
Yes.
For a couple of minutes. There's so much going on, Erica. Like, I mean, there's a moment today when, I mean, we work from home. You know, my wife's downstairs, she's working. She hasn't been feeling well. You know, Arden's 2 weeks from coming home from school. We're traveling soon to pick her up. You know, my son's still away. He's by himself. I'm trying to work. I had an advertiser, like, got a little funky and I had to work it out. And, like, you know, like, there's everything going on. And I come downstairs and my wife starts telling me something about an experience she had at work today that I was really genuinely interested in. And as she's talking, the dog has to go outside. And now I'm like, hold on, wait. And I'm pausing her and I let the dog out. And then I get outside and my neighbor's waving to me. He's got a question about something. And then I'm talking to him. And before I know it, it's 20 minutes later and I'm back inside. And I'm like, Kelly, what were you saying? And she didn't even remember she was talking to me at this point. And all I could think was, there's too much happening. Like, there's too much happening. And I got to go back upstairs and I have to edit 3 of these podcasts today. And I have 4 phone calls and I have to set up this thing. And Eric and I are going to record. And I can understand when people just like spiral out. Like, it's like my life's going well and it's still a lot. And I don't know what you're supposed to do when things aren't going well. And all these things are still happening. And these are just little things. Like, these are just momentary things that I find myself bumping into while I'm going through my day. There are other big ideas going on here. I have a whiteboard next to me. There's like 50 things written on it that I have to do. And it's already time to pay, like, my taxes again. And, like, you know, like, it's just like, it's a lot, you know? And, I don't know. It feels like it would be valuable to have a couple of moments of quiet. And, whether you're, you know, having an issue or just trying to stay present, I guess is the right word. It's so funny when you say it, when you say present, grounded, when you say grace, when you say things like that, I think these are so, like, obvious ideas. Like, I don't know why we don't talk about them more, you know?
Well, they're hard to do for ourselves and internally. Like, we can offer grace to our children. We can help them. Oftentimes, you know, we can help them calm down. We can help lead them to say, you know, it's okay. You come up from school and your child's, you know, running around. They have all this homework and their blood sugar is high, and it's easier to maybe help someone externally to kind of pause and take one thing at a time, as opposed to in our own body and mind. And so we often talk about, you know, trying to think, how am I going to ground? How am I going to calm myself the way I would my child or my best friend or my partner?
I'm going to try this, and because this may sound opposite of what I just said, but I'm having a struggle, like a personal struggle right now. And that is, I'm bored. I don't have enough to do. Like, I have too much to do, but my kids aren't here. Like, I am not good when I'm not helping people. Like, it feels very, my existence feels hollow right now. Like, I feel like I'm getting up and doing the thing I'm supposed to do. And I'm, you know, working on losing weight, which is going well. And, you know, like, thank you. And so everything's moving the way I want it to. The podcast is very popular. It's doing terrific. I can't, you know, all that's there's nothing going wrong. And yet I keep thinking I'm bored. And when I really stopped and thought about it, like, I'm not involved with the kids as much. And I didn't realize how much I would miss that, and how much of I knew how much of my life it was, but I didn't understand that there'd be a vacuum like that. Like, and there's a vacuum I did not expect. And anyway, I need to do something because I don't know. Like right now, I feel like I'm floating through my life at the moment, if that makes sense. So anyway,
and maybe a bit untethered from where you found your purpose.
Yeah.
And you derived a lot of value and purpose from that. And so with them gone, maybe there's a little bit of untethering, and that can maybe lead to various, think thoughts and feelings, and which are all valid and true. So you get to feel that. And in that process, maybe going back to the, grounding yourself and letting yourself feel those feelings of boredom and maybe sadness or loss. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what grounding can do, is also create space for the feelings that might be suppressed because you're going from one thing to the next. You're getting all of your checks off the whiteboard. And then the feeling that is there, once you're grounded and present, it allows for it to come out.
I don't know if this sounds silly, but I woke up the other day and I had a text from Arden, and she just wanted this special soap. It's like a bar of soap. And I ordered that soap and had it shipped to her and sent her the tracking information. This is the best 20 minutes of my week. And I just was so silly. Like, I was like, oh, I'm not having conscious thoughts like, oh, I'm valuable again. Like, it's not like that. It's that I think I actually enjoyed this. Like hearing their thoughts and their things that are going right and things that are going wrong, and having conversation back and forth about it. All that stuff is it's just gone now. Like it, and then I'm also thinking they don't have somebody to talk about it with. Like my son, especially, he's living in a city by himself right now. And I feel very badly about that. Like I want him to finish this part and go somewhere where there's more people. And I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to try this is my point. Then
You're a good dad.
I started saying sad, sappy stuff about myself. Anyway. All right. One day, Erica, we're going to go over you one day. One day we're going to find out what makes you tick. sit in these conversations on your on your throne of good thoughts and
gosh, I do.
I want to hear what
I do not have it all figured out.
I want to hear what a mess you are one day. I can't be the only one telling stories about sitting around feeling hollow.
Well, I appreciate the vulnerability.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you doing this. I will talk to you soon. Hey, how terrific is Erica? Find her at ericaforsyth.com. Also, while you're looking for things, usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Get your free benefits check and get started with US Med. Of course, BetterHelp.com/juicebox. That's the link where you save 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp. Let me throw one more in here for you. 35% off CozyEarth.com, your entire purchase by using Juicebox at checkout. And what the hell, athleticgreens.com/juicebox. Get 5 free travel packs and a year's supply of vitamin D with your first order when you use my link. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you can't wait that long, head over to the private Facebook group, Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. Become a member. Join the 40,000 other members and talk about diabetes with them. Doesn't matter if you have type 1, type 2, type whatever, LADA, you know what I mean? Diabetes, you're in.